I'm sure you can admit as a pro wrestling fan that one of the best things about this sport is the factions. Like, there's something so cool about seeing all these different personalities come together to form a group and cause chaos across the show. Like, the dynamic of Raw, SmackDown, or NXT changes when there's a new group on the scene, whether it be in the middle of the card or the main event scene. They truly change the landscape, and it makes for great TV. Not only is it entertaining watching these groups fight against each other, but it's also even more entertaining when the group starts to implode. When you have feuds from within, it can create some of the best storylines in WWE history. But I was looking at Twitter the other day and I saw Drew McIntyre did an AMA over on Reddit, and he was asked what would his faction be if he could put together a group of current WWE wrestlers, and he proceeded to put together a banger. Like, who allowed Drew McIntyre to cook like this? It is Drew, Sheamus, Braun Breaker, and the NXT North American champion Oba Femi. Who could stop this group? But that got my creative juices going, and I started to wonder who actually could stop this group if we were to put together 4 random wrestlers. And that evolved into me asking you guys over on Twitter, if you could start a faction, which current 4 wrestlers would you put in that group? To submit them to me, and now we're gonna take a look at them and see which factions were the best. Now, before we take a look at these stupid groups, make sure you guys leave a like on this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn those notifications on, and oh my goodness, this is either gonna be a great video with lots of great submissions, or it is gonna be one of the most cringe things I have ever seen. So let's take a look at your tweets. Okay, this ain't cringe right here. This is a freaking baller of a faction. Yo, Ilya Dragunov, Pete Dunne, Gunther, and Shinsuke Nakamura. You could literally call them the kings of strong style. Like, Ilya Dragunov is just one of the most intense performers WWE has on their roster right now. In my opinion, like, he is like the best prospect WWE has had come through in a long time. Sure, they might be positioning Braun Breaker as a little bit better and a little bit more important than him, but I still think Ilya Dragunov's top end potential is out of this world. This dude is amazing. But talk about another amazing dude, Pete Dunne. Don't call him Butch, but he's been around for a long time in WWE, and everything he has touched has turned to gold, whether it be the NXT UK Championship, whether it be his run as a tag team here with Tyler Bate, the new Catch Republic. Although I will say this, the theme song is not gold, so I don't think he touched that, because that stuff, New Catch Republic, is bad. But the guy, the Pete Dunne over there, is pretty damn good. Gunther, what more do I need to say about Gunther, the world heavyweight champion? The dude chops harder than anybody in the business, and he could literally cave in your skull if he wanted to. This guy is a menace, and he is going to be a world heavyweight champion for a long time, especially if we surround him with people like this. Like, can you imagine Nakamura being almost like a bodyguard for Gunther? Like, this is the evolution of Ludwig Kaiser in this role. Like, don't get me wrong, Ludwig's great, but like, this would be menacing. This would be a very, very interesting group. I could see tag team titles on them. I could see a mid-card championship, and of course, the world heavyweight title. This is a main event faction, and I'm so here for it. What would you name them? Okay, we're recreating Evolution here. Oh, maybe your guys' submissions weren't that bad, actually. Take a look at this. The idea of bringing back together Triple H and Randy Orton in a faction is hella neat, but like, also adding in Braun Breaker and Austin Theory to this group, I really like it, because it's almost like, well, yeah, Triple H was the world title contender guy at the time. He was the main part of the faction, but now you could argue that's Randy Orton. Triple H almost moves into that Ric Flair type of role, the guy who's, except for he can't wrestle during this time, so probably isn't going to work out as well, but like, still the older guy, the wise guy in this group, the man that's got all the experience. That's Triple H. And then you have 2 young, hungry, up and coming stars like Braun Breaker and Austin Theory. That's literally Batista and Randy Orton right there. This is a great idea for a group. And can you imagine with like the Triple H influence, if this was a heel group, it would be very, very entertaining. So I am here for Evolution 2.0. This is an interesting middle of the card group right here that would obviously help elevate both Tiffany Stratton and I guess you could say Kiana James right there. But the group would be centered around Tiffany Stratton, and they called this Guilty Gossip, which is actually not a bad name at all. I can see it. Pretty Deadly have been working well as these supporting roles in more of a goofy way that help elevate the people around them, and it would be great heaters for Tiffany Stratton. Like, can you imagine, say, Bianca Belair destroying Pretty Deadly if they were in a feud with Tiffany, right? Like that, all of a sudden, that's a crazy good visual. Bianca Belair maybe even lifting both of them up at the same time for the KOD. Who knows what they could pull off, but really good group. This would elevate Kiana James as well up the card, and Tiffany Stratton would be positioned for bigger and better things. Hell, you could probably put the women's world title on her or the women's undisputed championship, and this would work. This would absolutely work. Hell, she could cash in Money in the Bank with the help from Pretty Deadly and Kiana James and start the faction right there, and Nia Jax would probably turn babyface, which is a wild thing to say. I'm here for this group. Guilty Gossip, let's make it a thing. Okay, now we're getting a little outlandish, but that was kind of the point of the tweet right here. This guy's saying he would love to see a faction between Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and CM Punk. Oh man, okay. This would be one of those factions that could potentially stop, which one? This one right here or this one right there. Like, they could potentially stop him and would go up against them in a 4v4 match. It would be incredible. It would actually be must see, man. Like, it would be, holy crap. I guess you couldn't really include Drew McIntyre in it. He'd have to pick his side. But right here, this is so outlandish. It will never ever happen. The only way this could possibly happen is in War Games. Now, saying that would be really cool to see them in War Games, but can you honestly imagine if Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns were on the same team again? Like, we thought Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns being on the same team was wild. How about those two? Oh man, take my money. Now, this was an interesting one. I saw this and some people in the comments were like, yo, for it to be legacy, they gotta be second generation superstar or third generation superstars. It's not about just putting people together with Randy Orton. And that is very, very fair, because Randy Orton running Legacy 2.0 is a great idea. But if you're going to do that, you got to include people that are second generation superstars. And luckily enough, NXT actually has quite a bit of second generation superstars right there. So much so that this person also suggested a type of Legacy 2.0 thing, this time using Cody Rhodes as opposed to Randy Orton, and making use of people like Braun Breaker, who is the son of Rick Steiner. You also have Charlotte Flair, the daughter of the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, and Lexis King, the son of Brian Pillman. So, like, these guys right here would form a pretty cool group, but I wonder who else could be in a Legacy 2.0 group. Like, there is Bull Buchanan's son in Brooks Jensen down in NXT, and then you also have other people down in NXT. Like, look, take a look at this. Like, if we go down the list right here, you could use Brooks Jensen as a second generation superstar, but how about a Charlie Dempsey being included? That would be pretty neat as well, to see Dempsey get a spot like that. But they also have one other individual in here that is a second generation superstar, and again, his name is Lexis King. I think that's the only three that they have now that I'm scrolling through right here. I don't believe there is anybody else who has a dad in the business. But, like, if you were to do those three, I don't think anybody would really hate it. But we don't have those big, giant personalities who are positioned to be stars in the future. The only real one that I could say is a second generation star that would be valid to be in this is Braun Breaker. No offense to Lexis King, no offense to Brooks Jensen, no offense to anybody else whose daddy was in the business, but, like, it just, it doesn't have that same vibe. If you were to do a Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, if you really wanted to bring up Lexis King to get that heat, and a Braun Breaker, I'm down with it. If you wanted to include Charlotte Flair, I'm down with it. Like, there is a way we could go about it. It's just because it's been done before and it would feel like a bit of a shell of its former self, I don't think Legacy 2.0 is the right way to go. We just don't have the right stars to fill it. Now onto the women's division. Love this idea right here. The Unholy Union, Liv Morgan and Tatum Paxley. Now, the idea of this group on the surface may be like, yo, that's kind of strange. Like, why do we want to do that? Like, what's the point of this? But like, let's get into the nitty-gritty details right here. If Liv Morgan wasn't associated with the Judgment Day right now, is she strong enough to hold on to that Women's World Champion by herself? No, probably not. She probably needs some people to help her out in her matches, and that's when you could easily elevate the Unholy Union and maybe somebody from NXT like a Tatum Paxley and create just this dynamic together. Like, it would be a cool dynamic. Also, the fact that they all got different hair colors would be pretty damn cool just to see them all standing in a row. I like the idea of this on the surface. I don't know how long you would keep the title on Liv Morgan with this group. Like, if this would be a heel group that only runs for about 6 months before getting dismantled, or if this would be a long-standing group. Like, they definitely would have the potential, especially within like the tag team division, to create some magic. But this is where like a women's mid-card title on the main roster would benefit a group. Like, if you told me this was surrounding the women's intercontinental title, I would say, hell yeah, bro, let's do it. Let's make it happen today. In the main event scene, I just don't know how it would operate. I feel like it would be almost like Damage Control, where it works because they have the title, but once they don't have the title, it's like, okay, they're just another group on the roster, you know? And that is not me trying to shoot shade at Damage Control, because I think Damage Control is awesome, but like, you gotta admit, ever since they lost that women's title and fell out of that picture, they've just kind of been on the shows surrounded around the women's tag team titles. Regardless, cool faction, like this idea. It would be great in the middle of the card, and that makes sense that we need a women's mid-card title. This one's just stupid, but I love it. The cheeky comment right here. Roman, Sammy, Jimmy, and Jay. Yeah, dude, let's make this the thing at War Games. I'm getting a little nervous, though. I think we're actually going to see at War Games Roman, Jimmy, Jay, and Cody. I think that's the direction we're going in, which is just bonkers to say out loud. But hey, if Sami Zayn is willing to come on over and fight along them Usi brothers again, I am so down for it. I would feel hella Usi if this match happened. This one's kind of different, and I like the outside of the box thinking right here. We've got Andrade, Trick Williams, Cedric Alexander, and Carmelo Hayes. This guy has named it the Syndicate, and he says the tag team of Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes, bringing them back together on the main roster. Interesting idea. And then the singles competitors are Andrade and Cedric Alexander. And then if MVP was still around, he would have want MVP to be the faction's manager, which, you know, it almost feels like you're trying to recreate the Hurt Business right here with this, which, hey, look, the Hurt Business was severely underrated, and we didn't get enough time with them on the roster. Like, we just kind of pivoted away from it way too quick. I really did enjoy the Hurt Business, so trying to launch it again, I'm not against it, but this does feel like it's missing that top tier main event star that is guaranteed to be around the world title picture, you know, that Bobby Lashley was. If you told me Bobby Lashley was there instead of Andrade, I'd say, yeah, you got a main event faction right here. Hell, if you told me that Bobby Lashley was there instead of Cedric Alexander, I would say, yeah, we got a main event faction right here. But this one is just missing that top tier guy. If you put Obafemi in here, if you put a Duke Hudson even, if you built it around a Duke Hudson, he would be a main event star in the future for sure. So I like the idea on the surface of 4 younger talent being positioned together. So it could work. I just think that we're missing that big dude in this group. Little international flair right here. Becky Lynch, Charlie Dempsey, Drew McIntyre, and Sheamus. Cool on the surface. Dempsey feels out of place. I guess he could be built up as like the next big guy, but even then it just feels a little out of place. I would like to see a different type of faction for Charlie Dempsey if we could. Oh my God, the most unstoppable faction of all time. I thought that, which one was it? I thought that this one right here was the most unstoppable faction of all time. Take a look at this man. You got Roman Reigns, John Cena, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Rock all together. Like, what? I mean, that is The Rock. That is absolutely The Rock, even though you can't see his face. He's raising an eyebrow back there. You know he is. This one would be insane. Like, this is like an all-star group. This is like fantasy booking 101. Holy hell, just the stars of like each generation. Like oh man, great group if it ever happened. Not a single damn person out there could beat them. They would bury everybody, and then they would go back home and they'd collect their paycheck from their couch, from the residuals, from all the damage they did to WWE, and watch them go downhill. They would destroy everything. Nobody would be the same ever again. It would be crazy cool for like, what, 6 months, and then oh, where do we go from here? Cool for WrestleMania, but like, dude, you'd bury the entire WWE unless they went up against this group. Holy crap, look at this. Braun Strowman, Obafemi, Braun Breaker, and Brock Lesnar. RIP to the commentators for trying to get through this match if this happened right here, those four versus those four. But like, holy, that is a beefy group. That could be called Meat Madness right there. There's no question about this. This would be a hella entertaining group to see together. Everybody and their mother and their grandmother would love it. Hell yeah. Dude, I could see this group actually being a thing if they really wanted to. Nobody could stop it. But I must say, out of all the groups that I've seen today, this is the one that I think could actually be a thing and actually has potential to develop. Take a look at this. This is Ilya Dragunov, New Catch Republic, so Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne, and Charlie Dempsey, managed by William Regal. Those five together, I could actually see being a thing. You've got the tag team, you've got the single star who's young and up and coming, and you also have a former top tier guy in NXT who's kind of been lost in the shuffle that would need some help to elevate him back up the card. This is a perfect group, in my opinion, and to the true unscripted Puro right there who came up with it, round of applause. Submit this to WWE Creative, because I think that this could be a group we actually see someday. But those are all the factions that you guys submitted. If you want to submit more stuff in the future and be a part of future videos, make sure you check me out over on Twitter or X at Conman167. I release tweets for hot takes every single week, plus random videos like this. So make sure you turn those notifications on so you see them in the future. And then also right here, let me know down in the comments which faction you would like to see with current WWE wrestlers. Thanks for watching. Leave that like, subscribe, all that great stuff, and we'll see you guys tomorrow with another wrestling video.